Heartbroken at 21, I couldn't let go. He bought a sex tape from his ex while I trusted him. After a year of emotional roller coasters, he left me for a mutual friend just weeks after we broke up. I never wanted to leave, but I had to, he said. Did I push him away? My partner, 24 years old male, and I, 21 years old male, were together for over 3 years since we were 18 and 20. That lasted until March. At the start of our relationship, he was texting a friend with whom he had once slept before we met. We are both bisexual and saw her a few times while she was going through a breakup. I trusted him completely, even in the initial stages, and was aware of their history, so I was fine with this. I had absolutely no worries. I even accompanied him to see her a few times. I learned from her, perhaps only 4 months later, that he had been texting her about how he was infatuated with her and had purchased a sex tape from her, along with other flirtations. This occurred just a couple of weeks into our official relationship. Yes, I realize. I was utterly devastated, and he immediately expressed remorse, sitting me down to say he would do anything to keep me. We were driving somewhere far with friends when she messaged me, and he offered to turn around and take us back home. I declined. I felt numb. When we arrived at our destination, he rushed to the bathroom, and I could hear very loud vomiting sounds from a distance. I am unsure if that was manipulation or not. It certainly seems that way now. Meanwhile, he claimed that buying the tape was a joke, that he deleted it immediately out of guilt and shame without having viewed it, and that he did not believe she would actually send it, along with various other excuses. A red flag immediately went up. Later, he admitted that he had wanted it, but I do not recall when. He engaged in behaviors that I later recognized as highly manipulative, such as offering me sexual favors as an apology. Writing this all out makes me feel so foolish. Why did I even stay? I suppose being 18, naive, and in love is a terrible combination. It was eating me up inside afterward, of course. I sought testing for sexually transmitted diseases because I was concerned, and he had nothing to say about it. I tried to discuss the weight I was carrying due to the infidelity, but we never reached a point of an actual conversation. I broke down a month later over it, and he expressed surprise that I was still thinking about it. I told him it would linger in my mind forever and that nothing would change that. He acknowledged the extent of the pain he had caused me. I told him that if I ever discovered anything else, I would be done. He needed to disclose everything now. He admitted to some things with his ex that occurred before we began a formal relationship, but while we were still talking. The following year and a half of our relationship was generally good. I was gradually moving past the feelings of hurt and pain. I stopped checking on the girl's social media. He provided his location, declined gatherings with friends that he knew would make me uncomfortable, told me how committed he was, demonstrated it, and did not hide anything on his phone. He wanted us to move beyond it, so he would become somewhat annoyed when I would bring it up, but I was not doing terribly. I loved him and wanted to be with him. I just wish he had prioritized recognizing that I was hurting due to his actions and that it would take a long time to heal. I could never bring it up. I did not research anything about reconciliation or how to move forward at that time. I simply wanted to move past it as he wished. At some point between his purchasing the sex tape and me discovering it, he had invited another friend who was experiencing a breakup to stay at his apartment for one night. He told me he would let them have his bed while he slept in the living room. He claimed he could not charge his phone out there, so he intended to leave it in the bedroom with them plugged into the computer. At some point, he texted me good night, mentioning that he would be away from his phone. I received a message from him at 3 a.m. stating that he had sneaked into the room to check his phone. I immediately felt suspicious. However, I had no reason to distrust him at that point. Naturally, upon discovering his infidelity, I inquired about this suspicious night, and he maintained his story. I continued to think it did not add up even after a year and a half, so I brought it up again and asked for the complete truth. It was tormenting me. He said the person had attempted to kiss him and succeeded. I asked if he genuinely slept in the living room, and he replied affirmatively. I pressed further, stating that I would find out from them. He confessed that they had slept in the same bed, but nothing happened. The person was sad and intoxicated, and he did not want to leave them in that state. I almost left him at that moment. But he pleaded with me to stay, saying he was terrified I would leave, so he never told me the truth. He did not want me to go home, even for space. He planned a trip for our upcoming anniversary so I would stay with him. He said he did not want it to happen, that they did, and that he regretted it immensely. He cried and cried about it, asserting that he did not consider it cheating. I messaged the person, and they asserted that the kissing was mutual and that they were the ones to stop it from progressing further because they knew he had a partner. They merely cuddled and slept instead. This person is not particularly trustworthy either, so I remain uncertain who was telling the truth, if anyone. I later discovered that he had a threesome with his ex and this individual during a previous relationship. I knew he had participated in threesomes with the ex when they were together, but I made him name every single friend with whom he had done that and block them. He did not mention this person. Subsequently, I found out that he had texted this individual within the first year of our relationship, months after that night, asking them to come over and clean the house while dressed in a maid outfit, and that he would put their nude images on his wall as decoration. I have no idea what that was about. When I confronted him about it, he acknowledged the maid outfit request but claimed it was a joke and not meant in a sexual manner, but that was all he clarified. This individual is known to lie about various matters, so I still do not know any truths regarding them. Following this incident, he became the most amazing partner in every sense. He posted about me everywhere. He bought me gifts and flowers, took me on dates, cooked for us, and told me every day how much he loved me and how eager he was for our future. He inundated me with texts while I was at work about all the little things he adored about me. He wanted nothing to be held against us. He demonstrated no untrustworthy behavior anymore. He supported me and ensured I knew how much he valued and cherished me. I believe he genuinely wanted to change. Meanwhile, I grew increasingly resentful. I became toxic and unkind. I would criticize and be unsupportive. I would request changes in his behavior that irritated me and he would comply. He sacrificed a lot for me. I often failed to reciprocate affection. It became difficult to express my love in the same way. I was cold at times. He was perfect in every respect except for the breach of my trust. He simply did not want to dwell on the past anymore, which meant I could not share my pain regarding his deceit, a problem I am not sure ever truly ceased. He took pride in moving on from things easily. If I attempted to discuss the past, he would cry and shake, and I would console him, or he would become upset and claim that I could not keep track of past grievances and how he had messed up, acknowledging that he knew he had and regretted it every day. We engaged in frequent arguments because I would initiate them without warning. I was overwhelmed with anger and hurt, and he wanted us to resolve it, otherwise we could not remain together. I was harming both him and myself. I recognized this, yet I could not control myself. I wish I had tried to address my anger and resentment. He was so understanding and wanted to have healthy conversations instead of what was taking place. He went above and beyond to compromise and help me feel better. I wish I had not fought against him. We had some really wonderful days and moments, but somehow everything would turn due to my bringing up an insecurity or something similar. A week before he ended our relationship, I asked to see messages between him and a friend out of curiosity. He sent me screenshots and deleted some of the messages. I called him out on that, and he stated he needed space to think, which led to him leaving my messages and calls unanswered for 2 hours. I spiraled, thinking he had cheated again. I experienced a panic attack. I eventually discovered that what he had deleted was not even significant. He simply wanted to have private conversations with friends. The next day we discussed it, and he yelled that he needed to be himself and have space during an argument, as well as maintain private conversations with people where he could be vulnerable. I conveyed that he could not require that kind of space while lying to me and causing me to think he was cheating again. Somehow, the conversation ended on a relatively positive note, but it merely served as a band-aid. I do not think he felt remorse. I was still triggered without realizing it. I began to send spirals of irrational, immature, and erratic text messages days later, starting with him being understanding and healthy, wanting to talk later rather than my bombarding him with messages, professing my love, etc., and culminating in him screaming at me to be quiet. I used it as an opportunity to vent my anger towards him while he expressed disgust with himself for allowing things to escalate to that level, yet I simply would not cease talking. The next day, I initiated yet another fight about my insecurities regarding the lies and how they drove me crazy, prompting him to tell me to just drop him off at his house and go home. I was going to do it, but I was too hurt and angry. He said goodbye, told me he loved me, and asked me to be safe. I responded that I would not feel safe because I planned to sit in a sketchy parking lot nearby until we could resolve things. That was manipulative and wrong of me, holding my safety hostage and preventing him from obtaining space. I made a mistake. I pleaded to come back in, and he allowed me. He ended our relationship the day after that while crying, stating that he had been contemplating it for months but had been postponing the decision because he wanted to see positive changes. In the weeks preceding this, he had told me that all that mattered was us and our continued togetherness. He had claimed that we were doing really well recently and that he was extremely happy with us only a couple of months prior to breaking up. We had discussed moving in together, and he had voiced concerns about our arguments, stating he wanted to see change and proposed a temporary trial period where I would move into his current place and see how things went. It seemed like a healthy approach. He said all these wonderful things about never wanting to leave and wanting to work on our relationship, ensuring we would remain together no matter what. He admitted that he had only been saying these things to convince himself, but he never informed me that he was genuinely contemplating ending our relationship until that night. The comments he made about needing to change or else we could not stay together typically arose during fights when we were both upset. There had never been a formal sit-down conversation where he asked me to engage or made time for one aside from during arguments. I did not ask for such an opportunity either, I suppose, so I share the blame. He expressed his desire to never leave but felt he had to if nothing was going to change. I could not stop arguing with him. The toxicity consumed me. I did not even recognize how badly I was behaving at that time. I could have been much healthier and made an effort. I also mishandled things post-breakup, venting to our mutual friends about everything and how much I was hurting due to his actions. He perceived that as a betrayal and believed I was attempting to take all of our mutual friends away from him, leading him to view me entirely differently. He had never wanted to discuss me or our issues with others, allowing me to maintain those connections. Ironically, they all ended up remaining friends with him while ignoring me. He wanted the breakup to be amicable. I destroyed that. I feel incredibly alone because I became extremely codependent after his infidelity, and the only people we socialized with were these friends, almost daily. He now has the exact same life without me, and I am having to reach out to old friends to regain some sense of community because my world has completely turned upside down. I feel so foolish. He is now with a mutual friend from our friend group. This development occurred merely 2 weeks after our breakup. She is much better looking, more attractive, and shares more similar interests. They are posting about each other as though they are soulmates, wearing each other's clothes and frequently using the word forever. There are pictures of rings, flowers, picnics, and gifts. He even got a new tattoo in the same spot where he had intended to place one for me just a month prior. He appears to be happy with her. He realized that the grass was greener and could go to someone wonderful and uncomplicated instead of remaining with me and trying to mend what was unfixable. I was not fixable. He put in years of effort and it was never sufficient for me. I know for a fact that he did not cheat on her if that was something you were concerned about, but that is a whole different story with many complexities. I am simply heartbroken. I miss him and love him, but I also resent that he could do this. I feel an overwhelming sense of guilt. I feel like a monster and an idiot. I despise the person he turned me into and the person I represented to him. I have since discovered that he cheated in his past 2 relationships as well. Perhaps he has finally changed for the right person. Who knows? Since he left, he has also reached out to the individuals he cheated with, communicated with them, and apologized for past actions, while expressing that he is in a rough place and feeling very lonely, stating it will take a while for him to feel close to them again. He is in a relationship. How can he feel lonely? In summary, my partner cheated multiple times at the start of our relationship, engaged in constant trickle truths, I never moved past it, and we never addressed the issues, ultimately leading him to leave me. I wasted a lot of time feeling traumatized. Woohoo. Story 2. After a month of dating Adam, it went from "will you be my girlfriend" to "this is moving too fast." I panicked, feeling his vision of our future wasn't mine. How do I tell him the excitement has faded? Is my inexperience sabotaging the chance at love? English is not my first language, so please forgive me for any mistakes in grammar, spelling, or phrasing. I have been dating this guy for about a month now. Let us refer to him as Adam. I am 18 and he is 19, almost 20. Adam is enrolled in a class with my 2 best friends from high school, and he got to know me because I began sending him messages from one of my friends' phones as a joke occasionally when we were drinking together. There were mostly only a few messages exchanged at most, but he nonetheless knew who I was before we even met. Then we met briefly a couple of times, and after I attended one of his volleyball matches, we started texting. We had been texting for a week before we met for the first time during the talking stage, when I invited him to hang out with our 2 mutual friends, along with another guy from their class. We connected very well, and when we headed to a mall just the 2 of us, time flew by even faster. I found him attractive and immediately thought he was intelligent, kind, and funny. I felt a bit of awkwardness between us, but I completely dismissed it because I thought it was just part of the experience when dating someone you have basically just met. Keep in mind, I had only been in one relationship before when I was 15 or 16, and then had a kind of situationship when I was 17 or 18, and that was all the experience I had. I was confident that as time passed, the awkwardness would diminish until one day it simply vanished. Unfortunately, that did not appear to be the case. I still found most of the cringy things he did cute, and I had not felt an ick, but something just felt off. By the 3rd week, the attraction I seemed to have felt simply faded. I ceased to feel as excited to see him and found myself responding later and later to his texts. As he became bolder and more direct about expressing his feelings, both through actions and words. We barely knew each other for 3 weeks, yet he had already informed his parents about me, mentioned making our relationship official, at which point I stated that it was all progressing too quickly for me, and he said he understood and would refrain from jumping so far into the future. and even discussed the possibility of us moving in together for the summer holidays when I mentioned I might stay and try to find work in my university city. I reside in student accommodation that is only open from October to June, while he is renting a flat. There were also a couple of things that began to irritate and concern me a bit. First, when he asked me if I wanted children, I said no. Having children was never a goal in my life, and I could not imagine ever wanting one. He simply replied with okay, and did not mention whether he wanted children or not, so I just assumed we both did not want any. Then, within a few days, he managed to slip into conversation a couple of comments like, oh, when we have children. Or just imagine, our own little house with a cute porch, so we could watch our children run around. Or other similar remarks whenever someone mentioned having children in the future as a possibility. Not even in our future, but theirs. And he always chimed in to add something he had always wanted to do with his children when he eventually had them. Also, we both enjoy physical touch. He mentioned that early on, and I agreed. The issue is I absolutely dislike public displays of affection. I detest holding hands while we walk. It is literally never comfortable. The same goes for holding hands in the cinema or in the planetarium or in any other public place. I explicitly informed him that when I said physical touch is my love language, I meant it behind closed doors. Even kissing goodbye in public is challenging for me. I dislike doing it, everyone around dislikes seeing it, and nobody feels satisfied. I am certain most of these things occur because he genuinely likes me. But that is part of the problem. At times, I feel as though he likes me too much and would agree to just about anything if it means we will be together. The worst part is that I intended to talk to him about things moving too quickly, but I had not truly had the opportunity until today since we are both busy with university work. However, today he organized an entire date for us. He took me to the planetarium, which I have always wanted to visit because I have never been to one, then cooked dinner for us, and when we finished eating, he stood up and handed me a handmade paper flower and a card with a permanent marker. He was beaming from ear to ear, and when I opened the card and saw, "Will you be my girlfriend?" at the top along with two boxes labeled yes and no at the bottom, I panicked. Not the positive kind of panic that comes from a mix of stress and excitement, but the kind that pins you to your seat, makes your heart skip a beat, causes your gut to twist, and closes up your throat. Do you recall that episode of How I Met Your Mother where an engagement ring mistakenly ends up in a glass of champagne at Ted and Robin's table when it was meant for another couple? When she completely panics upon seeing it, that was the type of panic I experienced, only internally. I could see his smile fade when I began my sentence with, "Oh, you know what?" But I just did not know how to comprehend this situation. I told him it was simply too soon for me and everything was moving so quickly that I was barely registering it. He responded that it was okay and laid down next to me. However, he did not put his arm around me as he had always done before, and when I tried to speak with him because he was obviously and understandably upset, he kept reiterating that it was fine and that I should not worry about it. When I said I just did not know what to do as seeing him upset was gut-wrenching, he said, "I do not know what to say either." Then we just lay there for an hour, before he was supposed to return for a class as we had previously planned. Let us just say that might have been the most uncomfortable car ride I have ever experienced. We did not speak at all. When he dropped me off, we shared a quick kiss and went our separate ways. He texted me shortly afterwards, apologizing and expressing that he did not want things to become so awkward. He felt it was the natural next step. He is a truly wonderful guy, but I fear I may have confused simple excitement of getting to know someone new with genuine attraction, and now I have no idea what to do. I feel that even though we have a lot in common, we are not as compatible as we initially believed. All these things he did so early on may seem irrational to me, but they may not be to someone else. I am simply unsure about us, and I think he deserves someone who will be certain even after a month. I could ask him to be less affectionate in public or to be understanding when I respond to his texts an hour or two later. I could request that he changes all the other aspects, but would it not result in erasing who he is? Shouldn't he find someone who is seeking precisely those qualities in another person? I have next to no experience in relationships, but even I remember that when I began dating my terrible first boyfriend, I was much more excited than I am now. When I was close friends with the other guy, I felt a lot more excitement too, and he was entirely sweet the whole time. We had a significant argument that ended the friendship, but I still recall how I could not wait to spend even a few minutes with him. The main factor in these two relationships was that we were friends first. I was close friends with my first boyfriend for a solid 6 months before we began dating. I am concerned that might have been a major factor in all this. I do not think immediate dating is suited for me. I might be doomed, but this way everything will always feel like it is happening too quickly, and I will constantly believe I do not know them well enough to be together unless we were friends first. This relationship might have been doomed from the very beginning, and it is entirely my fault. Then again, I would have no idea how to even initiate a conversation like this. He is very committed to this relationship. We have mutual friends whom we see every Monday together. It has become a tradition. And he has informed his parents and friends about me, and I fear I have nearly ruined everything. However, relationships are supposed to be uplifting and provide you with energy, not drain you every time you see each other. Unfortunately, that is how I feel after every interaction.